about this, and I have the perfect person to talk to about it. Joining me now is Preet Bharara, former U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. Preet, thank you for being here with me on a Friday night, first of all.
Good to be here on a Friday night. No news, really, right? Of the legal variety
I texted you today and I said, oh my God, there's so much legal news. We'd already pre-booked you. But okay, let me start by asking you this. Obviously, these are two big rulings. They're related on Trump's slush fund. But let's just start with Judge Williams' ruling tonight, which effectively reopens the IRS case that Trump supposedly settled, kind of pulled it out of court, I guess. Give us your thoughts on how that order came to be and what it means.
Well, what's so interesting about tonight is we talk about the three branches of government. Do they work? Do they provide a balance and a check to each other? Well, tonight we're seeing the third branch of government, as listed in the Constitution, really asserting itself, right? You have the judge you just mentioned reopening the case that you've been talking about. You have another judge who's frozen the quote unquote slush fund. And the first judge undertook the thing that happened at the behest of and at the urging of 35 retired judges. So they're no longer on the bench. And they made some arguments, I think you also mentioned in the opening. And so judges, whether they're in office or out of office and still thinking about the rule of law, have made a very important statement here. And so I think that the original judge doesn't want to be a part of a gambit, something that's a little too cute for school, and wants to undertake under inherent authority that every court has to take a look at this. And I think it might be quite bad for the administration when discovery takes place, when the court examines things. And by the way, all the events of tonight are kind of interesting because they crystallize, which Earth everyone lives on, right? So there's Earth one that I like to think that I live on, that you live on. Then there's the person who I saw on Twitter tonight complaining about the judge listening to or taking the urging of these retired judges on the very mundane technical point of whether or not these judges had standing, and then recites in the social media post, "Wow, we are in uncharted territory." That's the uncharted territory we're in, not all the other stuff that you mentioned at the outset. And then as you also mentioned, notwithstanding these rulings that are very devastating to Donald Trump, what is the thing that Donald Trump fulminated about at great length today? Not having his name on the Kennedy Center. So a lot of people revealing themselves tonight.
I mean, that is quite an essay missive, and I referenced it. Anybody can check it out if they want on Truth Social. Let me ask you, I mean, I think the courts, I think, were working in a way, as you said, it's showing the third branch of government is working. There are questions I had about some of the things in here. I mean, in the written order, the judge also warned that she had the power to sanction the parties if this lawsuit was filed for an improper purpose. So that stuck out to us, but you can tell us how much it sticks out to you. I mean, first of all, how does she establish the purpose when both parties in the suit clearly seem to have been on the same side, or is that part of what she's looking at?
So that's the easiest thing to establish. And then whether or not it's an improper purpose or what the motivations were, or what there's that word again. We haven't heard it in a few years, Jen, collusion in a different context, which collusion is the word that's used in the order. I don't know if that was deliberate or not, or a callback to history or not. But that remains to be seen, right? The judge has inherent authority to do all sorts of things, including calling in witnesses, having hearings, having people testify under oath, under penalty of perjury, to find out what kinds of communications took place, can ask for documents to be produced, can ask for emails to be produced, can ask for texts to be produced. And I imagine all that is going to happen. So, presumably the judge has not prejudge this, and I hope that she has not. But this will be a process during which she has a lot of authority to ask for a lot of things and ask a lot of questions. And so we'll see in a few weeks or a few months' time.
Yeah, I mean, in the other case, again, they're all related, which is why it's so interesting to talk about all of them.